different with their whole live stream process. Okay, it appears to be working. I'm gonna try it. I'll send the tweet out. Haven't done one of these in a while. We pretty much only live stream during the earnings calls, but you know, everybody's talking about what Tesla's going to announce, and I figured today might be a good time to show off this incredibly small Tesla hat that does not fit on my huge head, but it was offered to me by my cousin, so I thought I would rep it at least for one stream before I find a better home for it. My head is huge, does not fit the hat as well, but I'll wear it as long as I can tolerate. Welcome, Alexander. Thanks for joining. Q2 delivery estimates. Oh man. Okay, so this one's weird because for one, they've had a delay with the Model S and X. I'm seeing a few people say their estimated delivery for their Plaid S has been updated for June, and it used to be July. So I think we'll get a handful of deliveries with the S by the end of this quarter, but when it comes to 3 and Y and Giga Shanghai as well, man, let me think. I'm still hoping for 1 million this year. So in order to hit 1 million, they got to be what? Like we're talking surpassing 200,000 deliveries this quarter, I think. I think it's probably safe to assume we've got at least over 200,000 if the ramp in Shanghai is going according to plan. Got my first shot today. Your Tailosive Talks video helped a lot. Thanks. Oh, good for you, Rockford. I'm glad. 209,000 is what Devin is saying. Elon has been getting a lot of hate these days on Twitter, usually by unaware, ignorant people. What are your thoughts on this? Well, it's definitely not anything new. Elon is used to doubt and hate. In fact, if anything, whenever you tell Elon not to do something, that makes him more inclined to want to do it or pursue it. He's been told for years electric cars would never work or a private rocket company would never work, and that's kind of what's his whole career's been based around. Sorry for the lag. I'm live streaming on Starlink, which is still in the beta right now, so there will be occasional little dropouts, but it's just dishy face looking for the satellites. Once it finds one, it should smoothen itself out. But how many this month in Shanghai? I haven't been keeping track of the actual... come on, Starlink. You were doing just great all day. I'll give it a second to jump back. There we go. Okay. Shanghai should be ramping pretty good. Their annual capacity is at 450,000, I believe. So... oh, my goodness. Just... it's doing great all day. Starlink always seems to know when I'm live streaming. That's when it becomes the most bumpy. Yeah, I think that a lot of the criticism Elon does get comes from timelines that he provides that are clearly not, especially when it comes to full self-driving. I think that's something he could learn a bit more about. When it comes to FSD, he's been saying it's right around the corner or it's going to come out later this year or end of next year for like 4 or 5 years now. Like, it's starting to get pretty absurd how regularly he's just making these claims of like, oh yeah, right, next month we'll have FSD. Yeah, next month we'll have FSD. Next month, you know, it just gets worse and worse. So I don't think people are happy about that. I mean, on my end, I think we can just choose to ignore it. Although I agree, it's very, very hard to ignore from a Tesla fan perspective as someone who keeps up to date with Elon's claims on Twitter as much as possible. And that's how we get a lot of our Tesla news, is directly from his Twitter account. So when he goes around claiming all the time, just like, hey, you know, FSD is a month away, subscription is a month away, Cybertruck update a month away, and then it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed month after month after month. That kind of annoys people. I think it would be better off if he just didn't provide a timeline and just instead said... we'll let you know, we'll keep you posted. When we have something, we'll tell you. But to always be giving people these unrealistic timelines probably annoys a lot of people. Never seen a hat on you. I'm normally not a hat person. As you can tell, it doesn't fit very well. But pretty much any hat I've tried to wear has not fit me very well. This one was a gift. I didn't get it myself, but my cousin offered it to me. It makes my hair look weird. It seems pretty official though, so I figured I'd rep it for at least a live stream. Is there any news coming from Tesla today? Probably the biggest bit of news we have, I would say, is a YouTuber that goes by the name of Texas Terrafactory. He did a drone flyby over Giga Texas yesterday, and without even him noticing it, I'll show you guys here. He found the Cybertruck on the second floor of Giga Texas, which I thought was kind of interesting. So Tesla Terrafactory Texas update 154. He's kind of like Jeff Roberts doing the daily flybys. I've been watching his videos for a little while, but it's interesting that it's on the second floor. I don't know how they got it up there without people noticing, but what is interesting is that that a lot of people thought it was a banner at first, but if you watch the video, you can see it is definitely three-dimensional. You can see a bit more of the headlight, and the lighting improves a little bit once you see it in motion. So I don't think it's like a cardboard cutout. And Jeff Roberts got some footage of Giga Texas this very same day, and the truck was not there. So if it's like a cardboard cutout or a banner or something, which is what some people were suggesting, they're moving it around and they're not displaying it very obviously. So I'm I'm pretty convinced that that's the actual Cybertruck. After being in New York City, they must have loaded it up on a trailer and drove it straight back to Texas. I feel bad for the guy who washed the truck right after it was at Giga Texas, got it all clean for New York, and then they had to and then they got it all dirty again. Let's see. Do you have a giant head? A little bit, yeah. Let's see. What are the odds we get the Cybertruck update this quarter? Also, what do you expect to see once we do get the update? My prediction is that, similar to how Elon thought that we were only a month away from FSD Beta 9, he thought we were only a month away from FSD subscription, and now here we are mid-May, and he's like, in a month or maybe another month. I don't think it's all going to be correct all of a sudden. My guess is that they'll provide a Cybertruck update during one of the earnings calls. I don't think they're going to just randomly have a live stream, or Elon's going to randomly send out a tweet any day now of, by the way, here's the new Cybertruck design. By the way, here's the new Cybertruck delivery timeline. During the last earnings call, they bizarrely it felt almost deliberate. They didn't talk about the Cybertruck at all. The closest comment we got on the Cybertruck was Elon saying, we're working on it. And they didn't talk about it when they showed pictures of Giga Texas. And whenever people ask about Giga Texas production, they pretty much always say Model Y coming first, a limited production of the Model Y by the end of this year, which I believe, based on the astounding progress Giga Texas is having so far. I'm pretty confident we'll have at least some Model Ys coming out of the factory by the end of the year. I don't think Cybertruck deliveries will be this year at all. I would love to be proven wrong on that, but my prediction for when the Cybertruck update will be is either Q3 or Q4 earnings call. Probably more likely Q4, just because that'll be pretty dang close. And also on Tesla's website, to this day, it still says, you'll be able to complete your configuration towards the end of 2021. And because so many people were expecting answers from the Cybertruck by end of 2021, like this whole webpage for the Cybertruck and everything has really not changed much. But yeah, they're still saying, single motor rear-wheel drive expected to begin late 2022, and once you hit dual or tri-motor, it still says as production nears in late 2021. So I think they're probably going to really mean late. I mean, Omar on Twitter was saying recently that there's an internal timeline for them to start Cybertruck prototype production right after Model Y production begins, and that they're going to want to get Model Y production and Cybertruck production up within a month of each other. I think that's just a tad too much wishful thinking, but yeah, I think the update will come in an earnings call. Similar to, for those who forget, that's how we got the Model S and X refresh. They didn't just randomly tweet that. That was like in the shareholder deck for the Q4 of 2020 earnings call. They were like, by the way, here's the updated Model S. There's a Plaid version coming, and then they changed the whole configurator for all Teslas, and they were like, Plaid Plus is a thing. Before it was just Plaid. Now there was a Plaid Plus. All those updates came at the end of January during the Q4 earnings call. Let's see. When do you think the Roadster's coming out? Out of all the things Tesla has announced, I'm sad to say Roadster's probably last. Although if you're in the LA area, if you know where the Peterson Automotive Museum is, they are taking the updated Tesla Roadster to that museum, similar to how they took the Cybertruck to the Peterson Automotive Museum, and we got a bunch of cool footage that I still use that footage to this day. But they're taking the next gen Roadster. I think they're going to have it alongside the original Roadster. So I'm probably not going to be able to check it out. It's just a little bit too far a drive for me. And I don't think it's free. I think you have to buy tickets. But either way, we should get a lot of people taking pictures and videos of the updated Roadster, which I'm excited to see. I think of all the things they've announced, the Roadster is probably dead last in regards to priority because, you know, Tesla's whole mission is about making more affordable vehicles and kind of pushing the boundaries with range. And Elon said on the Joe Rogan podcast that they wanted to do the truck first. So Cybertruck is prioritized over Roadster. They really have barely done any Roadster updates or any type of discussion on the Roadster lately. The fact that Tesla's bringing it to the Automotive Museum is like the closest we've got to Tesla is saying something or doing anything with the Roadster. So I'm going to guess at the very earliest, like end of next year. I think it'll be like Q4 2022, maybe. If someone suggested it's not coming till 2023, that wouldn't shock me either, just because I have a feeling Roadster's back of the line priority. Like right now, the biggest priority is figuring out the 4680s. They're trying to mass produce those, and once they get the 4680s figured out, they're going to obviously stuff a bunch of them into a ton of different Model Ys. First Model Ys coming out of Berlin with 4680s, and then later this year, Model Ys with 4680s coming out of Giga Texas. I'm sorry for the choppiness. Starlink is still looking. Tesla, according to their last earnings call, still thinks that the first Tesla Semi deliveries will be at the end of this year. So I think that is a big priority for them. They know that it's been delayed, and they know that it's pretty late compared to when they said the Semi would start production, which was 2019, but I think they realized that it made no sense for them to rush the release of the Semi before the 4680s were ready. But there's been several inside sources reporting to Electric, who was pretty spot on with the Project Palladium thing on the Model S and X refresh. Like, they got that right, and now they're saying that Tesla has a pilot production line at Giga Nevada for the Semi, where they expect to build about 5 a week. And they're going to be at least doing some of those by the end of this year. So for those who don't remember, the earnings call, the Q1 earnings call last year, the Q1 2019 earnings call, that was when they announced that the Tesla Semi had been delayed until 2021. So we just had like just a few weeks ago, we had our Q1 2021 earnings call, and did I say 2019 before? I meant 2020. Basically, it's been a year now, and this would have been the time if Tesla did not feel confident that they could deliver the Semi by the end of this year. This would have been the time for them to announce it. The fact that we're in May and they're still saying expect the Semi by the end of 2021, I say is good news, and they're clearly testing them out. I mean, they've got updated Semi designs. I believe I showed them before. Yeah, here you go. I still have the little slide from the earnings call we did on the EV channel. So that's the updated Tesla Semi design with the new door handles, and the windshield glass goes back a little bit further than before. And we didn't see this model with the white pearl design previously. And I believe they've been building at least a couple of those, and now they're testing them. And so I believe they're getting a lot closer. I don't believe they would be developing these prototypes and doing more road testing with them if the Semi was not a priority. So I'm pretty sure we'll at least get a few deliveries by the end of the year. Probably not a ton, likely not thousands of them, but maybe a couple hundred, possibly. Elon said 4680s will be ready in 12 to 18 months, so where Berlin and Texas get batteries. David, very different wording. Elon said volume production is 12 to 18 months away. He said, like, 4680s in massive volume are 12 to 18 months. He didn't say the 4680s themselves. So from what we know so far, it sounds like all the 4680s with the good yields coming out of Cato Road are going straight to Berlin. The Germany Prime Minister is still expecting sometime this fall for Giga Berlin to come online. So it's not that the 4680s themselves are 12 to 18 months away. It's that the volume production is in massive amounts of 4680s are 12 to 18 months. Little bit different wording there. There's a big difference. So I expect Giga Berlin to be somewhat limited in production at first as well. Let's see. Are you the Tesla photographer's twin? He says he has a twin, but you're a little bit... No. I wish I had a twin, but no, I don't have one. Do you think the $25,000 model will look like a mix of the Prius and Model 3/Y if Tesla and Toyota actually do have a partnership? I don't think Tesla and Toyota will have a partnership at this point, but I expect the Model 2 to... There's so many different ways I want the Model 2 to go. I'm anticipating it probably looking like a very small version of the Model Y. You know, there's so many compact... Let me find a good picture of one. There's so many compacts of, like, the concepts of what the $25K Tesla will look like. There's obviously... Let me show you a few of the ones I'm looking at. There's obviously, you know, this one that's been floating around because it came from Tesla themselves. And this one's pretty good. I'm not exactly sure whose concept it was, but a lot of them have this kind of flat back. This is the one I was thinking of. And when you have a big drop-off on the back like this one does, this is not very great for aerodynamics. You know, the most aerodynamic shape you can have is like a teardrop, which is why the Aptera has such a, you know, slope off the back. Same thing with the Cybertruck. All of Tesla's vehicles kind of have this recurring design trend of making it try to get as close to the ground as you can off the back. And obviously hatchback vehicles like the X and the Y do their best to combat that. But there were a lot of people complaining when the Model Y came out. They were like, why can't you just kind of square off the back end of the design so that you could fit a 7-seater a lot more comfortably? Aerodynamics is the reason, which is why I have a feeling the Model 2 will probably have a lot in common with the Model Y, just it'll be shrunk in almost all directions. Like I could see them axing the frunk, and instead of having quite a bit of trunk space in the back where you'd fit a third row or just lots of open seating in the back, it'll be like almost completely cut off on the back seat, so there will be not too much cargo space behind you, but yeah, kind of like a squished down Model 3 I could see happening. Let's see. 25K will be one casting for all the car. I think so too, David. I think that between the front casting and the rear casting and the structural battery pack, they're probably going to do some miraculous, like, shrunken down, like, one-piece components as much as they can. I almost feel like they're going to do that on the Model 2 before they even do it to the Model 3, because the Model 3 does not seem to be on priority for, like, drastic internal redesign between all these factories. Like, Giga Texas is all booked up with Model Y production and Cybertruck, and then as soon as Giga Texas is ramping those two and they have freedom for some more, they're probably going to go straight to Tesla Semi, because Elon talked about Texas doing the Semi. Berlin is all booked up with Model Y for a while, and their next big construction process is going to be producing their own 4680s locally. So I guess Shanghai makes the most sense to do Model 2 next, because they're already ramping Model 3 and Y. They're like actually active in delivering cars to people, and they seem to be pumping out vehicles really, really quick. So when it comes to Model 2, where that makes sense for China to do it first because it's going to be lithium iron phosphate. But when does Model 3 get an update? You know, when does one of these factories say, okay, let's shut down Model 3 production and retool it? Fremont's pretty much pumping out most of the world's Model 3s, Fremont and Shanghai, and none of them are going to want to take a break on Model 3 production because, like, Model S and X aren't even changing that much, I feel like, fundamentally with this refresh. It's mostly like interior changes and powertrain changes. And their factory line's been shut down for like months, but they're not like big priority for the health of the company. Like Tesla kind of needs the Model 3 to be bringing in all that revenue. I know the Model Y is probably more profitable, but Model 3 is still a substantial chunk of the revenue right now. So when does Fremont or Shanghai get a chance to shut down Model 3 and incorporate some new casting presses and simplify that internal structure? I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Sandy Monroe videos lately, and he checked out Model Y. Of course, that got a lot of attention from the breakdowns on his Model Y videos. Then the Mach-E, the ID4, the Polestar 2. There's all these electric crossovers. I'm starting to get a little sick of electric SUVs. I know that that's the most popular demographic. I just mean there's like so many variants of them. I'm kind of interested in seeing a bit more affordable sedans hit the market. I get why they're not being prioritized because they're not as big a piece of the market, but still, I'm like, can we get like a updated ID3 in the US, or get some more sedan options that are affordable? Not Mercedes EQS and Lucid Airs. I mean, like, Model 3 competitors. It feels like everybody's going after Model Y competitors, but not so much Model 3. Do you think Lucid stands a chance against Tesla? I personally feel like Lucid is barely competing with Tesla. I mean, honestly, at this point, if Lucid is able to steal away a few customers away from the Model S and X, then Tesla will be like, oh, thank God, we can keep up on orders. Because Tesla's mission is like accelerate sustainable energy. And Elon went on the record saying, if another EV company comes around and makes a better car than us and we go bankrupt, I think that would be a good thing for the world. So as long as Lucid is convincing more high-class people to buy EVs, Tesla sees that as a win. And right now, looking at how backordered the Model S and X is, like, Tesla, I don't think will be anywhere close to upset or annoyed if they lose some of the premium market to Lucid. I don't think they will, because I think the markets Lucid is going after is just so drastically different from the markets Tesla is going after. And Tesla seems to have an insane amount of demand. Like, they cannot build the S and X fast enough. Right now, if you order a Model X, it says it won't get here until next year. That's still crazy to me. Like, it's more backordered than I've seen the Model X in my entire history of covering Tesla. I've never seen the Model X. It's an amazing vehicle. I love the updated design. I love the panoramic windshield, not the glass roof. But yeah, still, right now, it's like January, February, if you order long range or Plaid. And Model S is pretty backordered too. I'm still confused why they put the Model S as the landing page on the website. Like, they probably just like flexing that 400-mile range number. But yeah, long-range Model S is saying September, October. Plaid is saying August, September. Plaid Plus mid-2022. So Tesla at this point, I think, is all about figuring out these 4680s. And if another company comes along and says, hey, we made a better luxury sedan for 6 figures, they're going to be like, okay, great. Take some of these orders off our hands, because we're just trying to mass produce 4680s right now. I do think that Lucid should focus a bit more on getting their vehicles to market, because they've claimed, deliveries by the end of this year many times before. And I personally don't see the point in advertising your brand and advertising your company if you cannot make your vehicles and you've had to delay deliveries several times in a row now. It does kind of bug me when a company is spending money on advertising. Like, I know there's a lot of people saying, Lucid's got plenty of funding from, Saudi Arabia. They got plenty of money to throw away on advertising, but I don't know. I'm just like, I think it would be much better for Lucid's branding and their public image if they just spent all that money towards figuring out mass production and getting a few vehicles on the road into customers' hands, not just prototype testing. And I get you got to have your quality control and stuff, but I don't know. There's a very clear reason, in my opinion, that they weren't able to hit their spring delivery timeline. And if there's even a slight chance that their timeline could be moved up by spending some more money on their supply chains and spending some more money on their factory, in my opinion, that is 100% more worth it than spending money on SNL ad space. Like, I'm rooting for Lucid. I want their vehicles to come out. If it was funny when I got so much backlash for telling Lucid, like, hey, don't be wasting money on ads. There were all these people saying, like, oh, you're just a Tesla fanboy, you hate Lucid. And I'm wearing a Tesla hat at the moment, but like, if people had been watching my videos, they recall I was really excited for Lucid hitting their amazing range numbers and low power consumption mileage. And I was just like, I want more EVs on the road, and I want more competition, because I know it's going to make Elon's blood boil, and it's going to make Tesla work really, really hard if they find out that they do not have the longest range EV on the market. That's going to bug Elon to death. Even if it's way too expensive and Plaid Plus is right around the corner, and Plaid Plus is supposed to just be the ultimate middle finger to Lucid, like, hey, we have more range, we're faster, we're better than you. But if it's not out yet and the Lucid Air is out, that's going to make Tesla mad. I know it is. I know how competitive they are. I know how quickly they want to beat other vehicles to market and stuff. So, yeah, I think Lucid absolutely stands a chance to not go bankrupt. I hope, if they manage their money well. I just don't like seeing other companies drop money on advertising when they haven't gotten a product out. Because it's like, what are you advertising, right? Like, are you just advertising that you can put an order in a web page, and that, like, all the Lucid Airs that they expect to deliver this year are sold out, all of the Dream Edition. Everything that's not the limited edition model is next year, and it's, you know, early May. So don't need to spend money on advertising something that you're not even close to being able to deliver at this point. Elon said 400 watt hours per kilogram in 3 to 4 years in volume production. I'm pretty jealous that y'all over in Europe get to enjoy the Model 2 before us. Possibly. I think China will probably be first, just because Berlin seems to be more prioritizing getting Model Y up and running, and Shanghai already has 3 and Y up and running. So I'm going to guess those watching in China are going to get it first. So they'll rush their EV to market and deliver low quality products. I'm not insinuating anybody should do low quality. That's never been recommended. You know what I think they should do? Lower quality. No, I'm saying get it out there. Don't waste your money on advertising. There's no point in advertising something you can't deliver. Like, it's not easy to make a profitable, you know, EV company that only sells EV. I mean, starting a car company in itself is not easy. Starting an electric car company is even more difficult. So, in my opinion, when you're in that kind of startup mode and you haven't delivered anything to consumers and your orders are sold out, you know, Lucid does not have a demand problem, in my opinion at least, because they said we can't, you know, deliver any new orders until next year. Then you don't need to be blowing money on advertising. Obviously, whether it's a $25,000 car or a $200,000 car, do it with good quality control. You know, figure out an assembly line process so that nothing's rushed and you don't have a bunch of paint issues, or you make something like the Cybertruck where there's no paint to worry about. You know, obviously, if you can, do good quality control. Well, I'm not saying it's a good idea to rush. I'm just saying don't sit around and blow your money on ads instead of not rushing. I mean, obviously, there should be some rush. People are putting down deposits. There's a way to get vehicles out with good quality control in a timely fashion, and advertising doesn't play a role in that. That's what their focus should be. Getting their vehicles out, making sure they're good quality control and not rushed to the point that you leave out important details, and don't blow money on things that don't matter. That's all. What do I think the Model 2 will be called? Model 2 is a terrible name, and it seems kind of challenging to come up with a good one. I don't think it's a terrible name. The terrible name is, what was it? We read it in the EV chat earlier today. We were talking about EVs that have over 300 miles of range, and someone was saying, Meadowman was saying, like, are there any other non-Teslas in the U.S. that have a range over 300 miles? And I said, I believe the Mach-E has a trim. The Mach-E trim is called the Ford Mustang Mach-E California Route 1. So that's quite a mouthful. And I don't know. Sometimes when you get too many letters and numbers put together, VWID4, you know, first edition, it starts to turn into a serial number. I like short, memorable names like Cybertruck. Very quick, very easy to roll off the tongue. Tesla Cybertruck. That's it. You don't need the whole California Route 1 or the E, the Model E, you know, when they start throwing E into everything. F-150 Lightning. That's pretty good. That's not terrible. Rivian R1T. You know, you want to keep it pretty short. Model 2. I don't think it's bad. To me, the logic makes sense. It's just like it's smaller than a Model 3, so we called it the 2. And you could also argue like 2 for being in the $20,000 price range or something. Model 3 starts in the $30,000 price range. Yeah, GMC EV SUV. There's a lot of stupid EV names out there, and Model 2 is not by far high on that list for me. I'll just keep calling it Model 2 until Tesla gives us a more official name. because I don't like. To me, you know what a terrible name is, in my opinion? The $25,000 Tesla compact hatchback, which is what I've seen some people refer to it as. That's a stupid amount of syllables, and I don't want to say that every time I refer to the vehicle. Let's see. I'm jealous of North America and Australia for guaranteed getting the full-size Cyber... Is Australia guaranteed to get the full-size Cybertruck? I haven't seen him say that. If anything, Australia would probably get... Yeah, they might get something imported from overseas. I don't know. I have a feeling that because the demand for the Cybertruck is so high in the United States, it's not going to be exported very quickly. It could easily be like 2024, 2025 before we see a Cybertruck deliver outside of North America. Let's see. Which one would you prefer, Hummer EV or Bollinger? Oh, geez. I don't really like either. I kind of despise the Hummer just for being absurdly expensive and the range not being very good. And the Bollinger looks horribly un-aerodynamic, and the range isn't very good, and it's pretty expensive. Probably just for the software and the interior, I guess Hummer. What do you think is the next Tesla vehicle after the current announced ones? Well, I guess it depends on if you consider the Model 2 announced, because Tesla has confirmed it's coming, like they talked about it on Battery Day, and they had the picture of it with the cloth over it, like, yeah, we'll unveil this at a later date. They've talked about the van on earnings calls several times. Like they've on multiple occasions said, like, yeah, eventually we'll do a van, but the problem is 4680s. It's not that we don't have a diverse lineup. That's not the issue with accelerating sustainable energy. So we got Model 2, we got the van. After that, I could see a lot of diversification. I could see them making like a cyber SUV, like a version of the Cybertruck that could sit 9 people. I could see them, I don't know, making like a RV type lifestyle vehicle that's pretty big that you could live out of, but it has a big battery pack, and maybe diversifying the Tesla Semi lineup a bit, making some cheaper options, and, you know, just a lot of diversification. Let's see. China will be the second to Tesla, NIO and an X-Bank. Well, I was going to say, Tesla's in China, so that's going to be probably their biggest market eventually. EV motorcycle would be amazing. Yeah, I know Elon doesn't like motorcycles, but I agree. I still think they should make one. I know that motorcycles aren't safe, but there's a lot of countries where any of Tesla's vehicles isn't going to make a ton of sense. Let's see. Matte black Cybertruck would look amazing. I agree. Unveiling any additional Tesla models while their manufacturing capacity is near the limit doesn't make sense. We already see the Tesla Semi, Roadster, and Cybertruck are waiting for factories. I agree. I think that Tesla has unveiled plenty of vehicles. The Semi has been unveiled, still not mass-produced. Same with the Roadster, same with the Cybertruck. You even throw the Cyber Quad in there, and they've even alluded to the Model 2 being unveiled in the next 3 years or so. So they've got enough on their plate when it comes to unveiling. I don't think we need another vehicle out on the market soon. I think they have got a solid lineup of announced vehicles. It's got to be all about delivering on those now, which is, I think they're listening. I think they're doing the right thing. Harley Davidson did. They made the Livewire. My dad got to check out the Livewire. He said it was really cool. Electric motorcycles are like bizarrely expensive, though. I feel like they're so much smaller and so much more compact than electric vehicles, and yet they cost almost the same amount as a lot of electric sedans, which is confusing to me. Australia is also right-hand drive. Yeah, they would have to have a whole separate right-hand drive section of the factory in Giga Texas if they wanted to import into Australia. So I would not be shocked if Giga Shanghai is the first foreign gigafactory to start building Cybertrucks, because I believe I'd seen a few statistics suggesting that pickup truck sales in China were actually picking up a bit more steam. I think the United States still buys more pickups than anybody, but China was on the rise. So if they do a world version of the Cybertruck that's a bit more compact and smaller, and they want to import Cybertruck into other countries, Giga Shanghai has this lower operating margin, so it's probably, that's where it'll likely go next. Let's see. Tesla has too much cash after last year's stock offerings. How can they spend it wisely but faster than... I don't think they have too much cash. I think they're just spending all their money on things that probably matter for the mission, which is, you know, scaling 4680s and getting multiple gigafactories online. Why are pickup trucks so popular in the United States? We got a lot of farming. There's a lot of agriculture in the U.S. It's also just a cultural thing. There's, you know, certain demographics where pickup trucks are very popular, and that's kind of what people are used to, and they're used for kind of weekend warrior stuff, throwing stuff around, and a lot of people just buy pickup trucks for their utility, even though they don't utilize that very often. They kind of just buy a pickup and use it to drive around town. But they're like, when I want to throw something in the bed, I do. And the U.S. also has very wide roads, which could be part of the reason. Compared to other countries around the world, the United States roads are pretty wide and thick, so that makes it very pickup truck friendly. It becomes very common for people to just buy up these big pickup trucks and drive them around. And Americans in our culture tend to like that quite a bit. A lot of China is rural too, but also a lot of China is densely populated and, you know, big cities, and that's where pickup trucks don't do as well. But a lot of America is still pretty spread out, and even in cities the roads can be pretty wide compared to somewhere like Europe, where driving around the Cybertruck would be like a nightmare. I don't know if Tesla insurance is coming to New York. I know you keep asking. I'll keep asking. Maybe if I spam it enough times, I'll suddenly reveal the answer. I don't know. They probably wanted to. Like, I bet they're imagining they want to bring Tesla insurance to as many states as possible, but they got to abide by a bunch of different laws. That's why I was actually really impressed that Rivian was able to announce that they were going to have Rivian insurance in like 40 different states. I was like, holy crap, that's a lot. That's a lot of different laws and stuff they have to abide by. So that impressed me. I was kind of shocked by that. So yeah, I'm sure Tesla wants to bring their insurance to as many places as possible eventually, but they're not there yet. Oh, this is interesting. The Kilowatts are making tweets about the Plaid Model S. They're saying it's possibly a Plaid Plus Model S racing at the Laguna Seca Raceway. Developing story. They tweeted some pictures. I saw them say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely the refresh." This is coming from the Kilowatts, like right now. Oh wow, look at that! Look at that spoiler on the back. It's like painted red too. They should just build that into the Plaid Plus. That's kind of dope. That looks cool. Yeah, there's a good angle of it. Check that out. Ooh, I love the way these look without license plates on the back. Check that out. Beautiful. Gorgeous. What else are they saying? Oh, they said the red wing was built into the trunk. They have a zoomed in shot of it there. This is on Twitter, in case you're wondering. So it's possible that the Plaid Plus Model S might have a little built-in spoiler like that. That's kind of cool. That's cool that they dropped that like right as we're live streaming. Oh, yeah, see, they can fold it back down. This is the same car, just with that spoiler folded back in. Huh. Rivian is partnering with Nationwide for insurance. Well, good idea. If you can bring your insurance to more states quicker and it's affordable, that's not a bad idea. I'm really pumped for Rivian. I hope I can like do a test drive or check one out by the end of this year. I'm pretty confident their deliveries are going to be next month. They seem to be gearing up for them, and they've got delivery specialists and stuff, and they're being spotted all over the place in the bay and around the factory and stuff. So I'm really hoping. Big plexiglass ducktail spoiler is what I want. I'm sure you can slap one of those bad boys on there. But I like the idea of the retractable spoiler being built in. That's kind of cool. They said they just secured a 1 minute 30-second lap time, but that's unconfirmed. They said it's a developing story. Nice. Model S needs 4 motors. No, not really. The problem, the reason 4 motors is not necessary is because with the tri-motor system, once you start approaching a 0 to 60 time of 2 seconds or less than 2 seconds, it no longer matters how much torque you have. It becomes all about traction. And that's why Tesla hasn't released a 4-motor Model S yet, is because with 3 motors, they're already tapping out at what the maximum acceleration is before you need to have like a sticky track or different tires that can grip onto the road in front of you better than anything else can. Like, even if they threw a 4th motor in there and it had 1,500 horsepower, it's still going to just spit out as soon as you floor it. So the 4th motor isn't really going to do anything in terms of acceleration. It's just going to make you spin out more. So that's why the Roadster is going to have a SpaceX package, is because once you hit that 2-second 0 to 60 time, you need some other way to accelerate even faster that involves cheating the friction that the tires can, the traction that the tires can accumulate when going forward. So if you have a giant cold gas air cannon on the back, air cannon doesn't care about the friction or the traction of the tires. You can just light it off just like a Falcon 9 air cannon, and that just shoots you forward at insane speeds. I don't think they do need 4 motors, because they're saying the Plaid Plus is getting under 9 seconds on what is it, quarter mile time, and that has 3 motors. So I don't think the 4 makes a difference. If anything, it probably just makes your energy consumption higher and less efficient. Rockets for downforce, yeah. Do you know why used Tesla prices are so high? The Model 3 performance from 2019 with 40,000 miles is still going for $59K right now. I agree, Karen. I've noticed that too. I used to check the used Tesla page pretty regularly, just out of curiosity to see what they were going for. For some reason, as of lately, they've been a lot more expensive. I'm not exactly sure what's changed. I think it's just because so many people are buying them in the used Tesla market. So many people are trying to buy these vehicles, and they're like, why would we sell them for lower if people are willing to buy them for higher prices? So yeah, even on Tesla's used inventory page, they're a lot more expensive than they used to be. Even Teslas that don't have full self-driving equipped are like basically new. They're charging new prices for them, and they'll have like 40,000 miles, and they'll be like, yeah, you'll save like $500 if you buy it used. And when that happens, I'm like, geez, it's not even like, it's like the cheapest way to get a Tesla is still to buy a new one. If you try to go used, you're just going to find some weird performance trim. I don't think that many people are selling them is the thing. Everybody's buying them up, and they're high in demand, and there's not a bunch of used ones available. Therefore, why lower the price on them? Taker 610 Super Chat. It says Model X now says January, February delivery. Plaid Plus mid 2022. Yeah, it's been that way for a few weeks now. I did videos on it when it happened. Why does Tesla have a Gen 2 mobile connector for $250 and a different mobile connector for $520 just with a 1450 adapter? I don't know why that is. Maybe one's for some reason more expensive to manufacture than the other, but I don't know. I don't make the rules on that one. I think that's the normal Plaid, because they will want to at least try to get to 129 before doing with the Plaid Plus, which is supposed to beat the Senna. Possibly. The thing is, the Plaid Model S, the non-Plus variant, the Plaid minus Model S, is supposed to start deliveries like next month. So if Tesla is experimenting with this like adjustable spoiler thing that the kilowatts are showing, where the spoiler comes out of the design like this is likely not the Plaid minus Model S. This is likely prototype Model S material that's a ways away. So I don't know, possibly, but they say Plaid Plus is doing sub 9 seconds. Let's see. What would you get, Aptera or a 20K Tesla? It'd be really difficult, depending on if they're both out. Like Aptera, I still question their range numbers. I have a feeling they might not hit those exactly what they're expecting. But I also feel the same way about the Tesla. They say there's a 25K model coming in 3 years. I have a feeling it's going to be more like 28K, which is still good, but I don't think Tesla's going to hit the 20K mark for probably another 9 years or so. But what I really, really prefer about the Aptera is the solar charging, because for me and my wife, like, we don't have kids. We hardly ever have anybody in the backseat of our car. So the 4-door aspects of the Tesla aren't super important. And if I knew I could charge my car, and the stats were real on the Aptera. Like it was out and about, and people were actually getting those numbers. 400-mile range on a $30,000 EV. My wife really cares about range. She doesn't like the. Whenever I talk to her about the Model 2, and I say that it's probably going to have a range between 250, maybe 280, she's like, ugh. So when it comes to range, she really wants a 300-mile range variant. And I really care about the solar thing because I don't want to drive up my electric bill charging my EV every night or every once in a while. So if I knew I could get free electricity from the sun, Tesla doesn't want to put solar on our house for whatever reason. We don't abide by their guidelines. 9 years, they're going to reach 20K and less. I agree. I just don't think it's going to be in the next 5 years. Tesla has almost never, if you go back throughout their history, they have pretty much never really achieved their promised starting prices between all of the vehicles they've announced. The Model S, they originally said would start at $50,000, and when it came out, they were like, no one really wants the 50K one because the range is so low, so they just scrapped it. They keep it around for a few seconds, and then they take it away. And the Model 3, they said would start at $35K. It took them a couple years before they got it down to $35K, and then like a week after they announced the $35K model, they took it away and then brought back Standard Range Plus, which was like $38, and the price of that has fluctuated over the years several times. Right now it's $39,500, even though they said by 2017 they would have a $35,000 model. So year after year after year, they never quite hit their starting price numbers. They get close, which I still think that the Model 2 is a game changer because it'll likely be sub 30K and have good range and autopilot hardware and all that. But there's been very rare times they've said, at this point, we will have a vehicle that costs this much, and then they deliver a vehicle that costs that much. It's pretty much always like, actually, you want the long range. Get the long range. Long range is better. So that's why I'm not anticipating the 25K Tesla to be 25K within 3 years. It'll probably be 28 or 29. And, with the tax credit, you got to tack on the gas savings, and then it gets pretty low. But the point where it's like 20K purchase price before incentives, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say 9 years. I hope they prove me wrong, but I think it'll be a long time because Tesla's lowering the price is fundamentally trying to increase demand. You make cheaper cars because you want more people driving them. And right now, Tesla can't keep up with their demand as is. Like the cheapest Tesla you can buy from them today is basically $40,000. Despite, 5 years ago them saying 35K model. And so it's tough. It's tough. But I still think they've made tremendous progress. How many Cybertrucks do you think are floating around? New sighting at Giga Texas today. Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of the stream. I still think there's only one at this point. For one, they only had one operational model. There was a clay model at the unveiling, but I haven't seen the clay model anywhere else since then. Then they took it to Giga Texas, and Tesla confirmed that's still the one and only, the one that was on Jay Leno. And then they brought it to New York, and then they brought it back to Texas now, and now it's hanging around Texas still. And so far, I have not seen any evidence that there is a different model. Like, we know one is at this location, and then someone spots another one. That hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping that it happens soon because I would love to see an updated Cybertruck design or something, or a new prototype. But so far, I'm pretty sure there's only the one that's been out and about. There's probably a couple in the R&D studio that aren't driving around on city streets, but they just kind of keep in a tent or something. they keep internal. But I'm predicting a Cybertruck updated design update like Q3, Q4 earnings call. A super chat from Alex says he applied as an engineer at Tesla BLR. Pray I get it. Good luck. I hope you do get it. That'd be awesome. I would love to see Tesla doing luxury level interiors in the S and X to further differentiate from Y and 3. We just kind of got a refresh. The thing is, like Elon talked about at Battery Day, you can make your cars as desirable as you want, but if you're not making a huge number of them, then you're not really accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, which is what their fundamental goal is. You know, no part of Tesla's mission statement says that they need to make the best cars in the world. It's true. No part of their mission statement says we need Tesla to have the best quality control. We need to have the most desirable cars on the market. No. All of their mission statement ultimately stems down to accelerating sustainable energy. That's it. Right now, that happens to be making cars. In the future, it could be making electric planes. A lot of it's solar, a lot of it's Powerwall, you know, battery storage and stuff, and doing mega packs. But no part of their mission statement says they have to make like the best interiors. They have to have the best quality control. Because the truth is, Tesla statistically has not had very great quality control, but they've still dominated the market. They've still sold more EVs than anybody else. So I agree, Tesla has a quality control problem, particularly at Fremont. I hope they can resolve this, and I hope that Berlin and Texas and Shanghai don't have these issues. Shanghai, it seems like, doesn't have as big a quality control problem as Fremont does. And I do think that quality control should be improved. It's a good thing, but ultimately it's probably not high on Tesla's list because they're like, our goal is to get more EVs on the road and more people driving EVs. So as long as they're pumping out more, even if they're not perfect and they don't have flawless paint, they're still achieving their mission. Let's see. I have a Model S right now and would love to upgrade to Plaid, but is the only difference in the upgrade one extra motor, $40K to add one motor? I think there's a few other differences. The Plaid has a different interior. I'll show you here if I can. Oh, whoops, this is the 3. Wrong one. The Plaid, I think, has a different interior. So for one, the range goes down a bit. Your top speed is 200 miles an hour. This is basically the fastest production car you can buy if you get the Plaid. 1,020 horsepower. So yeah, Plaid is definitely for people who care about acceleration. If you don't care about acceleration, then yeah, obviously long range is fine. But I'll try to find you what I'm remembering. Where's the interior picture? Here it is. So they use kind of a black wood paneling on the inside when you get the long range. But if you opt for Plaid, it switches to this carbon fiber panel across the top and carbon fiber center console here. So aesthetically on the inside, it does look a tad different. Oh, the seats change a little bit too. Here, if I can show you. Pay attention to these seats right here. This is the long range. This is the Plaid. So you can see the siding and everything going back and forth. So the seats are a bit more ventilated, I guess, on the Plaid variant. I don't know. Maybe they're slightly more comfortable or the ventilation works better. So there's a few interior differences as well. It's not just the motor. But yeah, when you prioritize performance, that does take a hit in range. Fremont needs a 6-month break. Yeah, but that would hurt their revenue stream so bad. And I don't know how Giga Texas can completely take over Model 3 production anytime soon. Why can't they fix the quality control? How hard is it to just copy Ford or VW? Well, to be fair, both of those companies have had... Ford had lots of quality control issues with the Mach-E as well. But the main reason is Elon described it as you got to change the wheels on a bus that's going 80 miles an hour. So the Model 3 is currently their best-selling vehicle, and most of them are coming out of Fremont. And just like we've seen with the tweaked factory layout of the Model S and X, they had to shut down those assembly lines for a good 2 or 3 months before they could get them up and running again at a successful rate. And S and X aren't big priorities. They aren't like the bread and butter for the company anymore. The Model 3 is. So if you decide, okay, we want to fix Model 3 quality control and we want to improve the Fremont assembly line, so we're going to shut down Model 3 production for 3 months, that's going to be a substantial hit on, the company needs money. And that's where most of their money is coming from to this day. We're hoping that can change as Shanghai ramps up, Texas comes online, Berlin comes online. Eventually Fremont can afford to retool and kind of take a breather. But as of now, they can't afford it. They would lose money very, very quickly if they just flat out said, okay, no more Model 3s being built for a while. That's a problem. So I'm sure they want to I'm sure they want to switch things up at Fremont, and they know about the quality control issues, and they do their best to fix them. To be fair, I haven't heard of that many Model 3 quality control issues as of lately. That's kind of the interesting thing about QC, is you know about it when it's bad, and you don't really think about it when it's good. When it's good, no one notices. And I haven't seen that many complaints about Model 3 botched quality control as of lately. So it's possible that they have fixed a lot of it, and we're just not hearing about it now. The most recent generation Model 3s I've seen, both at Tesla stores, and I checked out a Model 3 showroom with Mike, and it was a 2021 model with like the powered trunk and everything, and the updated center console. And we got inside. I didn't notice anything. I thought it looked great. Anyway, Taker610, thank you for the super chat. Horsepower guess for F-150 Lightning? I say 625 to 650. Yeah, that sounds about right. I was going to say probably north of 600. I was hoping north of 600 because they're going to be compared directly against the Cybertruck. And I have a feeling that Ford is going to go a bit too high priced with the F-150 Lightning because they're still going to be selling it alongside their gas pickups for a while. So they're probably going to be like, yeah, you know, gas is still the now. But if you want electric, I guess you can. They're going to be like, well, if people are into electric pickups, we're going to make them pay for it. And they're probably still going to be battery supply constrained. So they're not going to want to do super high volume of the F-150 Lightning, which is why I'm anticipating it to be pretty expensive. I'll be surprised if they can get the entry model around $50K. I think it'll be closer to $60K. And they'll be like, well, after the tax credit, you know, it's close to 50. Why Tesla obsessed to promote Model Y? Well, Model Y is the most versatile. It's like the Swiss Army knife of Teslas because it's got the functionality. SUVs are the most popular vehicle demographic in the United States, and they're very popular in China, and they're also pretty popular in Europe. So you can scale that vehicle across 3 different continents and expect it to sell pretty well because of the demographic it serves. Thanks to the casting press and the reuse of 75% of the Model 3 parts, they can bring it to so many different markets for very cheap. And because they've scaled the Model Y, and we've heard from leaks and rumors and stuff that it's possible the Model Y is actually cheaper to build than the Model 3, but because it's bigger than the Model 3, you get to charge more for it, which means that essentially the Model Y profit margins are very, very thick, which is why in every demographic, Tesla seems to be in a pretty big rush to bring the Model Y out. They're like, let's get it to China, let's get it to Berlin, let's get it to Texas, because they know that the more Model Ys they sell, the more profitable the company is going to be. Whereas the Model 3 is kind of profitable, but not as much. It's cutting it close. And there's a lot of dated manufacturing techniques that Sandy Munro brought up in his Model 3 teardown of like, yeah, they really need to redesign this rear underbody. They need more castings. They need to simplify a lot of the wiring infrastructure, and they can only do so much when the Model 3 assembly line basically can't stop, and it's already being run at such an astounding rate. And during shutdowns, they try to update it and do the best they can. Or crossover, you know what I mean. SUV is not a specific name. SUV just means sporty utility vehicle. So if you get the Model Y because you like the utility of it, then, you know, I've seen people say it's not a full-size SUV. A lot of people would compare it to that, though, because it's got a 7-seater option and it's got the hatchback and you can throw stuff in the back. So you know what I mean. It fits a demographic that's very popular. That's why Tesla is expecting the Model Y to sell insanely well. What are they doing with the 2.5 hardware to get the subscription FSD? I don't understand why Elon keeps saying the subscription is a month away. I don't see that being financially beneficial to Tesla in any way. With full self-driving, with him taunting people with Beta 9, like, oh yeah, it's coming out next week you'll have Beta 9, and then a week goes by, maybe another 2 weeks, maybe next month. I could see why Elon would want to hype that up because he wants people to buy full self-driving now. It's like, get it while it's cheap. It's only $10,000, so affordable, right? Like, I get that. But the subscription, him constantly saying the subscription is really close, only encourages people to not buy full self-driving. If you keep telling people that in a month you'll be able to subscribe to this and not pay $10,000 for it, then a lot of people are going to just wait for that. Well, they're going to be like, well, what if it's $100 a month? That's totally worth it. And if it's month to month, I'd rather do that for half the year or just a couple months out of the year than pay for $10,000 up front. That's way too much. I'd rather just pick and choose the months I want to use it. So the more he keeps saying subscription coming next month, I'm like, that doesn't even financially benefit you guys. I don't understand the viewpoint. He probably just thinks it is a month away, but he just consistently has been wrong on that. We need like an Elon tracker, how accurate his tweets have been. I did not order a Cybertruck, no, but I would love one. I can't wait to check one out. I don't see myself needing a vehicle even by the time the Cybertruck deliveries start, so I don't see the point in reserving one. But I still can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait to see one. Berlin may not open ever. I don't know why people are getting that in their mindset. The German prime minister is expecting it to come online in the next couple months. Let's see. That's a good point. If they're selling even with this mediocre QC, then why change it? Yeah. I mean, if anything, it gives other companies a chance to stand out. If other EV automakers get to brag about their quality control, then okay, they stand a chance. But Tesla doesn't have a demand problem, so there's probably not a huge rush to get quality control fixed. Is the Cybertruck your favorite Tesla? 100%, absolutely. If I could only have one vehicle for the rest of my life, it would definitely be the Cybertruck. I love the design, I love the utility, I love the practicality, and I hate paint on cars. I always thought paint just had to be a thing on cars, but once Tesla started showing me that actually you can build this super rugged exoskeleton and it doesn't need paint and you don't have to worry about dents and chips and stuff, I was like, oh, well, this is so much better. The only thing I'm worried about with the Cybertruck is the size, because I'm not a huge fan of giant vehicles. I used to work at a mansion ranch and I had to drive a F-350 around with like the extended bed, and that thing was like a total tank. It was by far the biggest vehicle I think I've ever driven, and I hated driving it. I always felt huge. I always felt like I was going to break everything around me, and I didn't have good visibility around me. So I definitely am not a fan of huge vehicles, and it sounds like the Cybertruck might be a tad smaller than the prototype. But ultimately, I just need to drive one around and see how I feel about it. I know it's probably not going to be as big as the F-350 I was driving around, but I would be super interested in any Tesla that has no paint in an exoskeleton exterior, because I don't care about the aesthetics of the outside of the vehicle. I just like the durability, and I like the look of the Cybertruck. So if they made a smaller Cybertruck that was more Ford Ranger size, I wouldn't mind that. And if they made a Cybercar that didn't even have a bed, but it was really cheap and still steel exoskeleton and stuff, I'd be all over that. I would love it. I don't think it'll have a clear coat. I haven't heard them say that. I'm pretty sure it's just raw steel on the edge. Let's see. Does Mach-E have a profit margin? I don't know. I have a feeling it doesn't. I have a feeling the Mach-E isn't very profitable, just because the Mach-E actually seems pretty reasonably priced. Like, I was playing around with the Mustang configurator the other day. Earlier today. And the 300-mile range variant is only $50K. It's like $50,400, which means that it qualifies for the federal tax credit. So it's actually arguably cheaper than the Model Y, and it has a range that's not quite as good as the Model Y, but still pretty good. But it's the energy efficiency that the Mach-E is not very good at. In order to go 300 miles, the Mach-E has like a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and I know that batteries are the most expensive part of the EV. So I don't know for sure how profitable the Mach-E is, but I know that they have a much more complicated, intricate interior than Tesla does, and they have bigger batteries than the Model Y does. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're losing money doing limited production runs, and it's very back ordered. It's kind of difficult to get your hands on one. No, Starlink, come back. Sorry, everybody. Come on, Starlink, you can do it. You can do it. We lost them. One sec. Okay, we're back. Sorry, Starlink was looking for a satellite. I'm sure Ford is losing money on every Mach-E. Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. I calculated production Cybertruck size with 3% reduction all around to be 18.7 feet long, 6.5 feet wide, and 6.1 feet high. They might tinker it. You know, Elon's mind changes on the Cybertruck model all the time, so they might shrink certain things and not shrink other things. I'm hoping that they can still retain the 6-foot bed, because I think that was important to people. But I haven't seen any concrete rumors as to why you guys think Berlin won't open this year. Several like high-ups in Germany are saying they still expect it to come online in the fall. Like the Prime Minister. And the facility is like almost done. So I'm sure it's a little bit delayed, but I don't think it's going to be pushed into next year. I think Giga India will happen eventually. It's just not the priority right now. India is a very, very different auto market from China and Europe, so they gotta find a way to make. I think Giga India will happen eventually, but they're probably going to start off with the Model 2 because that's the only car that maybe has a chance at selling okay in that demographic. They need to go for really, really affordable there. So it's going to be probably like lithium iron phosphate exclusive and Model 2 production only there for a while. I don't see them bringing Model Y or Cybertruck to India right away, at least in production. I don't think the Mach-E cost them $100,000 to make, but more than what they're selling it for, I wouldn't be shocked. Which month will be the one starting the operation of Model Y in Germany, and which year will Germany start to produce Model 2? So the main priority with Germany right now is going to be getting Model Y online, and they're going to be using 4680s from the Cato Road facility. After that, it's going to be producing batteries locally. So they have a whole section on the west side, I think, of Giga Berlin right now that they're going to turn into a 4680 manufacturing plant, and then they can scale up Model Y production a lot faster once they don't have to import batteries. So that could take a little while. I think the month Model Y deliveries will be probably a safe assumption would be like October, like the beginning of Q4, maybe October, November timeframe, somewhere in there. And then Model 2 production, it could be like end of 2022, maybe? I don't know. There's so much we don't know. I'm going to guess like beginning of 2023 is when they start to get Model 2 production online in Berlin. How many years do you think till gasoline is considered vintage? Like a gasoline car? I think we still got a few decades before that happens. Vintage. Could maybe like 30, 40 years. Do you think the Semi will have solar someday? It could, but the Semi is such a power-hungry beast. Solar, even if you covered the trailer with solar panels, it wouldn't make a huge difference. It might help a tiny, tiny bit, but all you could really do is like power the HVAC air conditioning on the inside. That's about it. Plaid Plus first or Model Y Texas first? Well, currently Tesla is saying Plaid Plus is mid-2022. Which is pretty far out. That's like a year from now. And Model Y Texas is probably still happening this year. So I'll say Model Y out of Texas. Which Cybertruck model would you choose if you had only 80K in your bank account? Only 80K. Wow. I'd probably be fine with the dual motor. I could get the tri-motor, but I'd rather have some money left over that I could invest in some stocks. I'd rather not drain my bank account. I don't go on that many road trips. I don't think they're going to go through with the single motor Cybertruck. My guess is they're going to say, oh, there's not enough people ordering that one, so we're just going to scrap it. But if they do actually make the single motor Cybertruck, that would be my go-to because I don't need high range. I don't mind 250. That's plenty for me. So if I could get my hands on a Cybertruck for 40K, ooh, that would be beautiful. I'm not expecting it because Tesla always scraps those entry-level models. Talk about how Model 3 outsells 3 Series E-Class A6, which is mind-blowing. I mean, what's there to say? It's not it's not very mind-blowing. It's a better car. Take that. Any idea what's happening with Giga Nevada? They're probably going to do pilot production of the Semi, and it sounds like they're trying to start pilot production of the 4680s there as well. But they can't get enough people to move there. That's why it didn't scale to the size of the original capacity they wanted Giga Nevada to be. And they probably don't want to scale it up to an insane rate if they haven't figured out how to mass produce 4680s properly yet. They likely want to figure that out and then be like, okay, let's scale up more battery factories once we can rely on 4680s more reliably. In 20 years, gas cars will be viewed like smokers are today. Like smokers? I mean, there's a lot of people that smoke. Dual motor Cybertruck would be enough performance utility for Drew with enough range for Drew's wife. Yeah, my wife wants a 300-mile range at least, but I don't know. I think if they do the single motor Cybertruck and it was substantially cheaper, she might be willing to compromise a bit. Just knowing that how much utility you have. The other thing is my wife does not care for the Cybertruck design. So I got to win her over on that one someday too. Be like, no, trust me, you'll love it. She doesn't like it right now. Let's see. The Semi needs 500 watt hours per kilogram. I don't think it needs it, but it does need 4680s. What's your estimate of EU prices of the Model Y long range and performance? Same prices in the US. If it's anything like Shanghai, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty equivalent to the U.S. pricing, at least at first. If they end up producing more than they have orders for, then it would make sense for them to start reducing prices because they're like, hey, we can actually meet demand. Let's lower the price and make it more affordable. But I'm guessing when the Model Y first starts coming out, there's going to be so many orders for it that they're like, we're just going to charge at a rate that we know we can meet the demand for. They're not going to lower the price substantially if they can't meet demand for it. So, gas cars will become the new horse, fun to own and do things with, but not a viable transportation system with the newer modern transportation tech on the streets. Yeah, I could see the banning of new gas cars being pretty common by 2030, 2035, but that doesn't mean banning gas cars from city streets. And a lot of people hold on to their cars for 8 to 15 years. So if there's still new gas cars being sold by 2028, 2029, those people are probably going to hold on to those cars for around a decade or so. So yeah, I don't know if I'd consider them vintage. It'll just be kind of like, oh wow, you're still driving one of those. But Cybertruck tri-motor would be great for retirement traveling. Yeah, obviously, if money's no factor, tri-motor all the way. But, I mean, single motor would probably have slightly better energy efficiency, which is nice. If the infrastructure bill passes, do you think it will open up for Tesla again and maybe pre-owned models? The infrastructure bill, I'm not exactly sure which one you mean. Open up for Tesla again? I don't know what you mean. Sorry. I don't know about the infrastructure bill. Would that just bring back tax credits? I don't think tax credits are going to change much because if the government brings back the 10K tax credit, Tesla's just going to jack up their prices to account for it anyway. So, anyways, we've been live for a while. I appreciate the questions and the super chats. This has been fun. This has been real, but we got a podcast to record in the morning, so stay tuned for that. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day.